Greetings everyone, anyone and anything that may tune in. It's your boy Owayo. I wanted to speak today on what people consider as science and what's not science. Most of us have grown up in the era where science has been considered to be different from what people consider spirituality, religion, and all these things. They have compartmentalized the information in a way that people don't understand the totality of reality. Where we are in school, we are busy learning about Pythagoras theorem, saying that we are so scientific, we are not religious in any way. But when you do your research and read about Pythagoras, you find that he was a spiritual person, he is a philosopher, and even that Pythagoras theorem refers to things that are spiritual, not just mathematical equation, a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. That's just the limitation that they have put in front of us. They have replaced scientific thought with mathematical equations, and people nowadays, since we have been raised from that era, we tend to assume that anything that doesn't work within the frameworks of what we consider science is considered to be spooky, to be pseudo, to be whatever name they give it. So we have scientists out here, people like Bill Nye, people like Neil deGrasse, speaking about spinning earth and all these things that we hear left and right. These old ideas of science that has made people not understand that religion is also a science, and science basically just means knowledge. Anybody with knowledge is a scientist. There's not just a specific sect. Science today has become more of a religion. There's a religion called scientism. Many of you may not be aware of it, but it's up and running, and you might not be conscious. They believe in evolution. They have their own system of beliefs. They have their own framework of reference. They use mathematical equations and scientific tools to explore everything. But when someone comes to a shaman, let's say, they'll say, this is a pseudo. How can someone just sit in a hut and come up with things and claim they know this and that? And because they believe for someone to be scientific, they need to be in an expensive laboratory. They need to be having a white coat, to have a PhD in whatever they say they should be having, which are just like initiation through a religious rite. The scientific community has become more of a religion. It's not about exploring and finding new limitation to our understanding. It will be those who are willing to go and explore their own consciousness, how their own consciousness interact with the environment, how their own consciousness affects their mentality, how their own consciousness affects the chemistry of their body, how their own consciousness, the anticipation they have towards an experiment affects the outcome of an experiment, not just laying out some procedure that if I do this and that and eliminate this from the environment factor and maintain this in the environment factor, I'll be able to deductively come to a conclusive thought because I have a controlled environment, not understanding that their own consciousness is part of the controlled environment. The new scientists will not use tools. They'll not use telescopes or microscopes to figure things out. They'll dive into themselves. The new scientists will not be waiting for affirmation for someone who, let's say, has a PhD or a degree to affirm what they have figured out by themselves. The new scientists will not be scared of exploring ideas that people consider taboo or unrealistic. In fact, they'll find a way of grounding it to reality if they have something really solid on it. What we don't understand is that the use of tools limits us. You can only go as far as your tool can take you, and a tool can only be a tool for a specific functionality. It is limited for a specific framework. Like, for example, if you have a watch as a society, that watch doesn't really tell us what time is. It just measures the movement of what should I call it? The movement of the arm in a circle going in a 360 degrees rotation at different speeds with different arms, which we call seconds, hours, and many other. Nowadays we have atomic clocks and things like that, but these do not tell us anything. They just measure. Just because an arm has moved for a specific amount of distance for a specific period of time that we have considered to be the standard, this doesn't tell us what time is. It just measures what we think time is. Because a clock is just a mechanical tool, and it can only do what mechanical tools can do. It can only do what it has been mechanized to perform in. It can only do according to the limitation in which its boundary of reality is supposed to experience. A watch cannot go beyond time and tell you that the things that are behind time or the factors that influence time, because that watch itself, it's going through time. A watch itself has no ability of going out of time and analyzing time from outside. A watch only sees the time as we have made it to see the time. So us measuring these clocks, doing this and that, measuring meters per hours, meters per seconds, or kilometers per hours, and these are just limitation from us, a limitation of understanding of time, space, and all these factors. And we have built our whole system around these limited ideas, that we have built these roads all over. Right now we have roads crisscrossing all over, cutting forests, cutting natural systems where animals cannot freely trek from North Africa to South Africa, because they are urban centers, they are highways, they have national parks. There's no free movement because of our limited technology. And our limited technology is very funny. We cannot build a road that can last more than 100 years. In fact, the Romans even had it better. And now we consider them primitive, but they figured it better. It's just because we have been hijacked mentally. Our school system has been hijacked by the scientism religion. They don't encourage free thought. They don't encourage new thought. And whoever has these new thoughts, this new idea, most of them are disruptive and they affect the ecosystem. For example, the big pharma, they affect a lot of industries that are making a lot of money that's depending on the structure which scientism has established. And the scientism itself, if you look at it, it has been financed from the beginning. People like the Rockefellers, they've been financing these experiments, the eugenics projects that have been pushed out here. The information that we have about fuel, the information we have about energy, it has been limited to that. Don't believe everything that you read in school, and maybe even if you have a PhD and all that, it doesn't matter, because everything that we have been taught and do has been set up for business, for specific business to thrive. And those businesses that thrive are the ones that find specific scientific research which they intend to direct towards their own goal and ambition. But what these corporations want is not what we as a people want. These corporations are here to do business, but we as a people, we want to have a better life, we want to have an easier life, we want to solve disease and this other issue. But there's no money in that. There's no money in researching easy way of curing diseases in a way that anyone can cure themselves from anything. There's no clear way of doing. There's no way in a modern structure where people who are making money researching about drugs so that they can sell the drugs can finance a research, for example, where someone can figure out, let's say, figure out this vibrational frequency. If someone vibrates this vibrational frequency, like let's say 108 times, they'll be able to remove this disease from their head or remove this mentality from their mind. If they do this technique, they'll be able to uproot this idea they have in their mind and solve psychological issues. Those are not the kind of things they want to finance. Those are not the kind of things they want to push in their media. Those are the kind of things they want to shut down. Those are the kind of things they want to ridicule. Those are the kind of things they want to call it spooky. Those are the kind of things they want to call speculation, while they themselves are the biggest speculators. There's nothing science has offered us in the last 100 years that's really significant. We're just building on top of older structures. In fact, if you look at the older technology, it's far better than today. Have you seen those, what they call Roman cathedral structure, Roman building, things of that nature? We cannot build them anymore because we don't have the capacity, knowledge, or how to. They have suppressed that. We have these long metallic structures building with steel beams inside that we depend on. Now we say these are the most advanced structures we have. They are skyscrapers, but they are ugly. They are very ugly, and they really suck the energy out of people that live in them, because all the metals in that structure suck your aura and suck the energy out of your being. So that's why when you go into a place where there's a lot of heavy metals around you, you feel like you are shrinking away. But if you go in nature where there's organic material, things like wood, other plants, roots, things that are living, you find that your aura expands, because there's constructive interference of your magnetic field, your bioenergetic field, and a lot of other fields that's in nature, which other shamans have been calling elementals. They have given different terms for it. Remember, shamans do not have the the tendency of creating formulas and equation where they say this is gravity, this is this and that, this and this and that. They had the idea of grouping consciousness in a way. They'd say that in this forest there are elemental spirits that do this and that. You can tap into them to do this and that, and they were able to do it systematically and achieve what they wanted to do. So this is just my view on what should be considered science, and I hope you enjoyed the discussion. Let's build bridges.